Welcome to the Weekly Roar, coming live from the Lion's Den, helping new managers become great leaders and awesome bosses. And now, here's your host, Greg Storch.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Lion's Den. This is the Weekly Roar. It's great to have you back in the Lion's Den. If you think about when your journey started, you may realize that those who started with you may not be the ones who are surrounding you now. And that's okay. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how those who start the journey with you seldom finish with you. We'll get started in just a minute, but first, I'm Greg Storch, owner of Lion Enterprise, host of the Weekly Roar, and founder of a worldwide bartered coaching program called The Helping Hand. I'm a certified professional leadership coach and a certified leadership speaker and trainer. Now, last week in the Lion's Den, I shared a lesson about how we have to give up something if we want to gain something else. Every new level of growth that we have the potential to experience as leaders will always require some level of change. We can't have one without the other. If you want to be a better leader, you're going to have to give up in order to go up. Now, if you weren't able to join us last Wednesday for the Weekly Roar, or maybe you just want to watch that session over again, or share it out with someone who you think might find some value in it, you can access the free video resources on my website at lion-enterprise.com. When you get to the homepage, just click on the Lion's Pride Library menu and find video number 146 for last week. And while you're in the Lion's Pride Library, make sure you look around and stay a while. It's a free resource, and it's a great way for you to get more of the roar. Okay, it's time to get today's lesson learned in leadership started, and I'm calling this one Players Change Throughout the Game. Now, my journey started when I was 17 years old. Straight out of high school, I headed to San Diego for Navy boot camp. That was 36 years ago this August. For 3.5 decades, I've experienced things and realized many accomplishments that have all brought me to where I am today. But along that journey, I've met people from all walks of life, and I've forged thousands of personal and professional relationships. Some of those relationships I forged 36 years ago. I still have them today. I met my best friend Rick in boot camp, and to this day, we're like brothers from another mother. But the one thing I realized is that my journey has seasons, and while some people have continued on my journey with me, others have come and gone. They all have served a purpose in one way or another, but the fact is, not all who start the journey with you finish with you. That's right. The reality is that few are going to go the distance with you. And when it comes to leadership, if you don't take the time to understand this, it can sneak up on you and really hit you hard. You see, some leaders think that their team is their team, that they're responsible for taking all of their people on the journey towards the destination, their vision. They also think that the crew they have in the beginning is the same crew they'll have when they arrive. You know, in the Navy, the commanding officer of a ship constantly has crew members coming and going. Even though they have a mission to achieve, they have to accomplish it with who they have at the time. Before a ship goes on deployment, it does what we call workups. They're sea trials that get the crew and the ship ready for that 6-month deployment at sea. The workup schedule takes several months before the deployment happens, and during that time, some of the crew members move on to their next duty station while others are reporting to the ship. You never see the captain trying to keep all of his or her crew members there on the ship. They don't stop them from coming and going. Well, that's the same with our teams and in leadership. Some of your team members will get off the ship along the way, and when it's time for the ship to leave port to continue to set sail, the leader can't go running after those crew members and put them back on the ship. They have to keep moving forward with the crew that they have at the time. Here, maybe this will help a little more. When it comes to our journeys, here are some lessons learned that I want to share with you today. Now, first, understand that not everyone is going to take the journey with you, and that's okay. They don't have to. We all have choices, and being part of a team is one of them. Some people may not want to go where you're headed. Maybe they don't share in your vision. There are plenty of reasons why someone might make the choice not to join your journey. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's the others on the team, or maybe they just aren't headed in that direction at that time in their lives. The sooner a leader realizes that not everyone will take the journey with them, the easier it becomes to choose the right team members. So remember, not everyone will take the journey with you. Now, another thing is that not everyone should take the journey with you. Personally, I have a tendency to want to share my success with friends and colleagues so they can enjoy success with me. But the reality is, friendships or just liking someone isn't the best reason to place them on your team. You have to make sure you're selecting the right people with the right skills and placing them in the right seats on the bus. You know, in my new work with the transition assistance program on base, I had a vacancy for a counselor position here in Italy. The position works closely with transitioning soldiers to ensure they have the tools and resources they need to successfully transition back into the civilian world. Now, I immediately thought about a professional acquaintance of mine from the John Maxwell team. But the thing is, it wasn't based on the fact that I really like her as a person, but she has a special set of skills that would be perfect for the team. She's retired Army, senior enlisted, who worked with transitioning service members after she retired. So I reached out to her and brought her on board. She actually arrived here in Italy last week. The thing is, she could have said no, right? If this wasn't something she was passionate about, or even if she had no desire to live in Italy, it wouldn't have mattered how much I wanted her to be on the team. It wouldn't have been a good fit. Anytime a leader ignores reality for the sake of the relationship, they're going to have problems. So remember, not everyone should take the journey with you. And then the last lesson is that not everyone can take the journey with you. Now, let's talk about this one for a little bit. Just because a team member may have been a good fit in the beginning doesn't mean they will automatically stay for the whole trip. When I first took over the IT contract at one of the federal agencies, I had a lot of work to do to regain the confidence of the customer. My first order of business was to build a leadership team that could help me. One of those people was a senior quality assurance manager. We worked hard at getting things back on track, and we worked really hard to put processes into place in order to maintain a positive customer relationship. And we worked so hard that we ended up being awarded the Corporate Quality Award that year. But once we corrected the course of the ship, she moved back to corporate headquarters, and I remained leading the contract for several more years. Now, this can be a real challenge for leaders, especially when the team has met success and the leader remembers how awesome it was working with those people. It becomes hard to face the day when they leave the team and never return. The reality is, though, sometimes a team or an organization just outgrows some of its team members. And when that happens, if they continue along with the team, they become a weight and it holds them down. That can be a really tough situation for a leader. They face the decision to continue on with or without them, or to just let them go when they make the decision to move on without them. It's okay for people to leave. I've had plenty of people leave my teams for tons of reasons. But make no mistake about it, to some extent, leaders can choose who they lose. The question is not, are people leaving, but who is leaving? Obviously, when looking at the revolving door, the best thing you can see are people with a lot of potential coming in, while those who have tapped out are leaving. So remember these three little lessons that I just shared with you. Not everyone will take the journey with you. Not everyone should take it, and not everyone can take it. The best thing a leader can hope to do is be prepared as teammates leave and to maintain the right perspective on it. It's never fun leaving people behind along the journey, but that's just how leadership works. It's going to happen. In order to make it a little easier and maybe help you shift your perspective a bit, let me share a few tips on some things you should try to avoid doing. First of all, remember that nobody is irreplaceable. Heck, not even you. Try not to believe that your best team members can never be replaced. The truth is, they can. There's good people everywhere. But when we lose critical team players as a leader, we think we'll be left with a hole on the team. If you don't prepare for it properly, it will cause you to panic and your team to suffer. But if you're a good leader, good people will want to work for you. This is why it's so important that we take the time to develop others. And the more we do that for them and for ourselves, the larger the pool of candidates will be when it comes time to fill that gap. To be honest, that kind of thinking is really the difference between a scarcity mindset and an abundance mindset. Believe that there are plenty of people that can fill that key role, and you'll have an easier time filling the vacancy. Now, here's another tip for you. Don't spend time waiting on people that you shouldn't wait for. Some people are just going to slow you down and never get on board. And no matter how hard you try to develop them, they're just not going to come around. Leaders have to be able to identify those people early on in the development process. If not, it's going to negatively impact you and the team. You may think you're doing the right thing for that one person, while it could be the wrong thing for your organization. If you've ever gone on vacation with friends, you'll notice that things just move a little slower than when you travel by yourselves. It's simply because you're always having to wait on them. Well, the same is true in leadership. When we travel alone, we can get up early, but when we travel with others along the journey, we have to wait on them, and some of them just aren't going to be ready to go. Don't waste too much time forcing them to get on board, or you risk losing the momentum that you've started to build with your team. Now, here's another tip. Foster the attitude of gratitude and start appreciating the people on your team, no matter how long they stay with you on your journey. Our leadership journeys can be really long, and at certain points along the way, it becomes necessary to bring people on board to help you be successful. But those points in time can come to an end, and those people will move on. When I was brought on board the IT company I worked for to run their second largest federal contract, they promoted me to program manager because they needed me to help rescue a sinking ship. Well, after several years of getting things back on course, I moved on to a new organization. See, the company only needed me for that period of time, and then it was time for me to go to a new directorate. So, my advice to you is to recognize those key players that are only coming alongside you to help you navigate part of the journey and not the whole thing. At the end of the day, just be grateful for them that they were there and available to help you get to the next level. So, there's a few tips for you to think about as you make your way along your leadership journey. Remember these few things. Don't convince yourself that important team members can't be replaced. Don't waste your time waiting on people you shouldn't wait on. And learn to appreciate the people who are there with you, even when it's only for a brief time. Now, I hope those things will be helpful for you because the fact is that those who start the journey with you seldom finish it with you too. Here's the deal, guys. Leaders aren't the owners of their teams, even if they're the owners of the organization. No, what they really are stewards of their teams. One of the jobs that we have as leaders is to find the best people we can, provide opportunities for them to join in the journey with us, develop them, and encourage them to reach their potential along the way. But at the end of the day, we can't hold on to them too tightly because, as I said earlier, those who start the journey with us seldom finish it. All right, everybody, that's a wrap for this week. I hope you got a few takeaways from this lesson learned in leadership. Now, next week, I'm going to talk about something I mention quite frequently. You all should know by now that I'm a firm believer that we don't get anywhere in life without the help of others. One is just too small a number to achieve anything of significance. So next week, I want to talk to you about the myth of the solo leader. Now, if you want to keep running to the roar, then come back to the Lion's Den next Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time to join me for the Weekly Roar. Thanks, everybody, for showing up today. I appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you again. Until then, remember, be powerful, but stay poised just like a lion. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for watching the Weekly Roar live event at lionenterprise.com. If you enjoyed this video, please tell others to join us each week here in the Lion's Den. Thanks again, and see you next week.